What's up YouTube, Breakup Brad here, and in this video I'll be explaining when you should and should not send your ex a letter to win them back. Now, this is a pretty easy question to answer, so let's get into it, shall we? First, let's define what we mean by letter. Now, I'm talking about anything longer than a couple of paragraphs, anything that would be too long for a text message. So, this could mean sending your ex a long email, an old school paper letter in the mail, or even, just a really long Facebook message. Any kind of longer, more heartfelt letter to your ex that's intended to, apologize, explain what went wrong, ask for closure, beg for another chance, tell them how much you love them, and so on. So basically, we're not talking about sending your ex, a two-sentence joke through text message here. Now, I do need to say one thing right now at the very beginning of the video, just in case you don't watch to the end. And that is that most of the time, in 95% or more of all breakup situations, you do not need to send your ex this kind of letter. In fact, whether you want your ex back or not, it's just typically a bad idea that won't work or is going to do more harm than good. Now, yes, there are a couple of situations where you can consider this kind of letter to try and get your ex to come back to you. And I will talk about those few specific scenarios in more detail in a second here. But for the vast majority of you watching this video right now, you should not send a letter to your ex. If you happen to think that your situation could be an exception and warrant this kind of letter, please sign up for my one-on-one coaching before you send that message just to get a second opinion. I'll help you, make sure that the letter will actually help your cause. It's not expensive. Just go to breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up today if you see an available slot so we can talk it over before you send any letters to your ex. Now, briefly, there's a few reasons why you don't want to send your ex a letter. Firstly, it reeks of desperation. By taking the time to think about what you want to say, write it all down in a letter, and then send it to your ex, you're basically exhibiting needy, unattractive vibes and kind of making yourself look a bit pathetic. It's a desperate move, and your ex is going to see that in most cases. Secondly, you don't win back your ex by telling them how much you love them or explaining what you think went wrong in your relationship. What makes your ex take you back is attraction. They need to want to be around you, and a serious 10-page rambling letter about your past relationships problems doesn't make them want you. It just confirms that they've made the right decision to stay broken up. Making your ex laugh, smile, flirting with them, building sexual tension, those are the kinds of things that will change your ex's mind and make them beg to have you back. And lastly, it usually just reminds your ex of the problems that actually led to the breakup by focusing their attention on those issues again. So if you're apologizing for something you did in a letter to your ex, for example, that's fine, but it is going to remind them of what you did that actually necessitated that apology in the first place. So you want them to forget that stuff and let go of those negative memories. If you explain how things will be different, if they just give you another chance, again, that's fine, but they've probably heard it before. And once again, it's another case of trying to use logic and reasoning to talk your way back into your ex's heart when you really just need to tap into their emotions and rebuild real organic attraction. Now, my full tutorial video at breakupbrad.com actually explains this in a lot of depth, and it also explains, what to do to help your ex forget about those negative memories and tap into their subconscious to rebuild their attraction for you. Now, watch it for free right after this video is over at breakupbrad.com, or just click the link in the description below. Now, what are those rare situations where you can or even should send your ex a letter? Well, really, there's only two scenarios where a letter might work, or at least isn't likely to do any harm. Number one, as an absolute last-ditch effort when you've tried everything else and you can't find it within yourself just to let your ex go without spilling your guts. Now, I absolutely do not recommend this most of the time, but some people, just can't let their ex go until they lay out all their cards on the table in a sort of a final last-ditch Hail Mary. Now, if you do get to this point, your odds of getting them back are already basically zero, so you have sort of nothing to lose. Really, it's as much about helping you close the chapter and move on knowing that you've tried your best. Now, I am sorry if this is the kind of situation that you're in currently, but most of you probably still have plenty of hope left, so you're not even close to this kind of last-ditch desperation tactic yet. And of course, guys, if you want to find out your chances of ever getting them back, take my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Now, the second time is when you may need to use my Clean Slate template. Now, maybe you've heard me talk about the Clean Slate message in some of my other videos already, and this is something that I cover in detail in my X Factor program, so please grab a copy if you're considering sending the Clean Slate message to your ex at breakupbrad.com before you actually send it. And that's because you really need to combine this strategy with other stuff like no contact and do it properly, or else it may end up, doing more harm than good. Essentially, the Clean Slate message is something you'd send to your ex in an attempt to undo past mistakes that you've already made since the breakup. Most often excessive begging and pleading or overly clingy and desperate behavior. The clean slate message is an admission that you've handled the breakup poorly previously, that you'll respect your ex's space and decision to break up, and that you're actually doing great now, and even seeing, the positive sides of the breakup. It's a way to subtly change how your ex thinks about you and your value by being honest and sort of doing a 180-degree turn on your approach and your attitude. Now, if this is done properly, this letter can really surprise your ex and build some intrigue, and it also adds some pressure and some urgency to things for your ex. Now, if you want to see my example clean slate message templates, again, please sign up for my X Factor program at breakupbrad.com. It is backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee. Now, you can also craft your own clean slate message if you, for some reason, don't want to try out my X Factor program. But if you do that, do keep a couple of things in mind. Number one, this is a desperation tactic designed for people who've already made serious mistakes with their ex since breaking up and need to take action to kind of undo the damage from those mistakes by changing your ex's mind and sort of wiping the slate clean to start the process of reattracting them again from scratch. Now, it's not going to be a good idea for most people, especially if you haven't made major mistakes like repeatedly begging and pleading your ex. Number two, it should be as friendly but brief and concise as possible. So no rambling, no gigantic page-long blocks of text, no overly flowery language or poems or compliments. It's just intended to show your ex that you've changed, that you won't beg or plead or bother them anymore, and to drop a hint or two to clearly show how well you're doing now and how you're getting over them. Now, this adds some urgency to the situation for your ex by showing them that you're moving on and that they may not have you available as a backup plan if they don't ask you to get back together soon. Number three, if you do need to apologize, just do it once in a meaningful and heartfelt way. Be specific about what you're apologizing for. Maybe explain that the breakup had initially been hard for you, hence your past mistakes like begging or pestering them, and then don't mention it again. Make it, a positive sounding message in general without bringing up drama or past problems in your relationship. Just sound upbeat and focus on positives and moving forward. Number four, don't expect a reply, and if you do get a reply, don't immediately treat it as a signal that you can start contacting your ex frequently again or stop exhibiting that new you that you describe in the clean slate letter. And lastly, number five, don't use the clean slate letter unless you know what you're doing. In fact, don't send your ex a letter of any kind unless you're really sure it's going to help you get them back, or if you really don't care anymore and you have nothing to lose. In any other kind of situation, please sign up for my coaching first before you send any letters to your ex, because 99% of the time my clients tell me about a letter that they sent to their ex. It wasn't a good idea and it usually backfires on them. If those clients had either decided not to send a letter at all or had signed up for my coaching or my program, they could have avoided making such a damaging mistake. So hopefully you guys now realize that most of the time you shouldn't send your ex a letter. No love letters, no poems, no spilling your heart out on pen and paper. If you need to write something to your ex, generally you should only do it for your own purposes. Don't actually send it to them. Even if you don't ever want your ex back or you think there's no chance anymore, most of the time it doesn't achieve what you're hoping it will. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Please click subscribe and like before you go, and of course leave your comments below with questions or compliments. I love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching. See you again soon.